What's up guys, my name is Brandon and today I'm going to be showing you more than 70 new features and changes found within iOS 13 Beta 1. Now right off the bat, I will tell you guys that there are definitely more features and changes in iOS 13. There are probably hundreds of new features and changes, and I will be covering those in other videos tomorrow and later on this week. I will also be releasing some videos talking about some really cool hidden features in iOS 13, so definitely stay tuned to the channel for those videos. And this is going to be a long video, so let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing is going to be the new volume HUD. As you can see there on the left hand side, I want to talk about this first because I did just make a dedicated video to the volume HUD, but you'll notice that the first time you press the volume button, you will get a fat little indicator there, but if you press it twice, it turns into a skinny little bar there on the left hand side of the screen. Now when you flip your phone into landscape mode, it's the same deal, except for this time it's at the top of the screen, which actually looks really good, and it really reminds me of like Instagram's volume indicator, so I really like the way that the volume HUD looks when in landscape mode. And for those wondering how the volume HUD will look inside of YouTube, this is how it's going to look. It will cover up a little bit of the video, and if you're watching it in landscape mode, it will also cover up a little bit of the video, and it also shows up with YouTube's built-in volume indicator. Now, I don't know if that's a bug or not. It probably is a bug, and it's not going to show up there, but you can see that is how it looks currently in Beta 1. The next new feature in iOS 13 is a really awesome animation when you flip the mute switch. So let me just show you. I'm in mute right now. When I turn it off of mute, take a look at that at the top. It shows silent mode off. When I turn it on, it says silent mode on, and it gives me some haptic feedback. So that is really cool. Really reminds me of a jailbreak tweak. The next feature is going to be another one that I just covered, and that is going to be dark mode. So if you go into your settings and go to display and brightness, you have a toggle between light and dark. When you flip it to dark, you do get a dark mode, and it changes the UI of every application in iOS. Now you also have automatic right here. If you turn that on, it actually gives you the ability to automatically enter and go out of dark mode. So you can actually have it set to sunset to sunrise, or you can have a custom schedule where you set where you want the light appearance and when you want the dark appearance. So that is pretty cool. I love the fact that they added in the feature to actually have it automatically change. You can also access this inside of the control center by 3D touching or haptic touching on the brightness toggle right here, and down at the bottom you will see an appearance. You just tap that and it switches the UI just like so. The next feature has to do with battery and charging your phone. So if we go into our battery settings and go to battery health, you'll notice at the very bottom we have a new option called optimized battery charging. So I'm just going to read what Apple says here. It says, to reduce battery aging, iPhone learns from your daily charging routine so it can wait to finish charging past 80% until you need to use it. So I'm going to explain this in a separate video, but this is actually a really nice feature to prevent your battery from wearing down. So really great feature here in iOS 13. Again, I will talk about that in the future, but it is going to be beneficial, so I would recommend turning that on. Now, if we go into the music application, you will notice that we do have a new UI. So this is iOS 12 on the left, this is iOS 13 on the right, and take a look at the UI change. So first of all, we have the text. It's more to the left now instead of right in the center. And then we have the time of the song and where we're currently at below the title now instead of above it. You can see our play button is a little bit smaller, and we do also have additional options at the bottom. We have a dedicated lyrics button down there now. And if we actually press on the lyrics button right there, you can see we have lyrics, but not only do we have a new UI for the lyrics, but they actually follow along with the song. So you can see that when it goes to the next part in the song, when they start saying those lyrics, it goes with it. It syncs up with the song, and it's like karaoke style. So really cool there that you can do that now inside the music application. You can see we also have these indicators right here, and you have this whole new settings right here, this whole new look for these options right here to review the album, to download, delete from library. You can see you have a lot of cool options there now in iOS 13. There's also a new screenshot UI in iOS 13. So if you take a screenshot on both of these phones, I'm going to take it here on the iPhone on iOS 12, and then this is iOS 13 on the right. So take a look at the difference there. Definitely looks so much better in iOS 13. I mean, we have like our blurred background in the background instead of white right here behind the screenshot. We also have much more realistic looking utensils down there that we can like mark up our photo with those utensils. So we also have a plus icon here. We also have this little color palette that you can choose from here as well. The share button is now up in the top right instead of in the bottom left. And then when we click on done, you can see we get a new option to save in iOS 13 as well. So not only do we have save to photos and delete, but we also have save to files now in iOS 13. We also have some new wallpapers here in iOS 13. You can see there are 4 new wallpapers there. The first 4, we have that little icon on the new ones right there. And actually, if we go into the interface to add and apply a wallpaper, you can see we have some different buttons down here at the bottom. So instead of the ugly boxy looking set, cancel still perspective, you can see we have a whole new look here in iOS 13, which looks much better. Now you'll also notice down there that we have a new option called Dark Appearance Dims Wallpaper, and it says when dark appearance is on, iPhone will dim your wallpaper, and then it kind of cuts it off there. So it's pretty cool that when it notices it's dim outside, it will also dim your wallpaper, so it's not as harsh on your eyes. This kind of goes along with dark mode in iOS 13. Now inside of the Messages application, we have a new button for Compose. So you can see up there on the top right, we now have the blue icon and the little 3 dots instead of what it used to be before on iOS 12. As you can see right there, that's what it used to be in iOS 12. Now in iOS 13, it looks a lot better. And if we click those 3 dots, we actually have the option to select messages, and then there's a new option down there called Edit Name and Photo. And if we click on that, you'll see that we have the option to set our name and also share name and photo with publicly to other people, or with contacts only, or always ask. So your name and profile picture will actually show up inside of iMessage to other people who have iOS 13. So that's actually a very WhatsApp-like feature. So if you wanted to do that, you can now. And if you take a real close look at the AM and PM right there inside of the Messages application, you'll notice that not only is the time smaller, but the PM and AM indicator there is also much smaller than it was in iOS 12. So now it shows that basically just to show the time a little bit bigger, and it looks a lot better format wise. Another cool feature in iOS 13 is SwiftKey, basically SwiftKey. So we now have keyboard swipe gestures that you can use natively inside of the keyboard in iOS 13. So you don't need to configure any settings. You don't need to go into your keyboard settings and enable it. You could just basically start swiping and typing right away. So if I wanted to say, hey, what's up, and just one swipe, I can do that. So I think you have to stop after each word, but we'll do a space, what's up, just like that. And it actually saves some time because you can sometimes type a lot faster if you actually swipe instead of individually press on the keys. So that's a really cool feature that I'm glad has been added to iOS 13. And then one final thing inside of Messages is the addition of Memoji, customization and stickers and things like that. So you can see we have all these stickers here for your Memoji and Animoji. You can see these are my Animojis right here. You can see we have the hearts and all these new different stickers and emojis that you can send to people. And if you wanted to add one of these to a conversation, you can basically just take it and drag and put it on there, and it will send it inside of that iMessage. You can see down there, we can take and drag, put it over top of something they said. There's also a lot of different things you can add to your actual Memoji. So you can edit it, and you can add in like AirPods. You can make them have AirPods. There's a lot of different things you could change in here. There's more facial hair. There's more hairstyles, mouth styles, pretty much everything. There's more of everything. So you can see there, you can do tongue piercings. You could do like mouth piercings. I'm sure you could do nose piercings as well. Yeah, so a lot of things like that you could do now to your Memoji. You can really customize it. For women out there, you can actually add makeup to your Memoji. So a lot of cool things you can do with Memoji now, really looking like Snapchat. Now let's move on to something more practical like Safari. So let's talk about some Safari changes. Now the first thing you're gonna notice are a ton of changes right away to the whole UI of Safari. So let me pull up iOS 12.3.1 here, and you can see there's already a nice difference pretty much everywhere. So the icons at the bottom are darker and more bold here in iOS 13. Up at the top, it looks like we have a flatter URL bar than we did in iOS 12. We do also have a little downloads button right there, which is a downloads manager. I'll talk about that in a second. But take a look at these two A's over here on the top left. So if we go ahead and tap on that, we get the option to show reader view, hide toolbar, request desktop website, and also website settings. If we click on website settings, you can see we can do all of these things here. So it's pretty cool that you can change all those settings straight from within Safari. And if we go ahead and press on the share sheet right here, you can see there is a massive difference in the share sheet now. In iOS 13, it looks a lot better. You can see we also have some customized actions right here. Basically, iOS is going to learn from our behaviors and see who we send stuff to the most, and it will put that right there. And then we have all these toggles down here to copy, open a news, add to home screen. You can see we have all these different things here, and that's much better than swiping like all the way down here and going to more, in my opinion. I like that it shows all down here like this. And I do also like the addition of what we do normally, like who we send to a lot. This will get a lot better with time as well. I do also like how it can take up the full screen. The share sheet can take up the full screen if you need it to. And if we go to our bookmarks view right here, and we can see our history and our bookmarks and things like that, you can see we do have a new look here as well. And now let's talk about the download manager. So you can see I have a downloads button right there, and that actually won't show up until you download something for the first time. So I'm gonna go over here to a site that has an MP3 file. So this is just some no copyright songs, MP3 files right here. And if we tap on the link, you'll notice that it gives us a prompt now to view or download. And if I go ahead and press on download, you can see it will start the download up there. If we go ahead and tap on this, we can click on it and it will actually start playing it right there. We can also download zip files, we can unzip files, we can do a lot now with this download manager. And if you wanted to from here, you can go ahead and press share, and then you can share it with whoever you want. You can do AirDrop, you can send it in a text, all kinds of things. So really cool that we now have a download manager inside of iOS 13. And lastly, inside of Safari, if we go to our settings and go to Safari settings, you'll notice that we have some new options down here called settings for websites. And we can see page zoom, request desktop website, reader, camera, microphone, location, and basically like say for microphone, if we wanted to deny every single site in Safari from using our microphone, we could do that right here. So it doesn't have to ask you again. It'll just permanently know that you never want any website to have access to your microphone. And like I said, you could do that with a camera. You can do that with all of these things. So pretty cool. You can also change the page zoom right there, request desktop website, reader, all these things inside of settings now. We also now have the option to allow once when an application asks to use our location. So if you don't want this application to always have access to your location, but you want to allow it just one time, you can now do so in iOS 13. You can see here, I took a screenshot earlier of the App Store asking me, and you can see down below that we have allow once. And this is a really great move for privacy in iOS 13. I love this feature here. And speaking of photos, we can actually go to the Photos tab and zoom all the way out and then zoom all the way into a certain time and date that we want, and actually zoom all the way in and see like different types of views. So we can get like grid views, we can get this rectangle view where we can go up and down and see all of our videos. We also have the little options down here now. You can see it says years, months, days, and all photos. So this is pretty cool if you wanted to just see all of your photos and videos and get to them pretty quickly. And if we go to one of our videos, you'll notice how it actually starts playing right away. So videos now start playing right away instead of having to press on play when you open up that video in your camera roll. You also notice how the UI is a little bit different here at the bottom. And we do also have the option now to edit videos and add effects to videos. So if you press edit up there, you can see we have all these different effects and all these different things we can change to our videos, where in the past, we couldn't do any of that. And you'll notice how I can also rotate my video here if I wanted to. So it's shot in portrait mode. If I wanted to, save it as landscape mode, if I wanted to transform it, I can now do that in iOS 13. Now, also, if we press on share right here, if we wanted to send this video to somebody, take a look at this. So we have options up here at the top. If we click on options, we now have the option to include full original capture. And if you read that, it says for sending with AirDrop only, sharing this full original capture sends photos and videos in their original quality with all adjustments included. So that's pretty cool. It will send it as a full high quality image or video with all effects intact. You also have the option here to send as individual video or send as an iCloud link. And now let's take a look at the Maps application. So you can see here the Maps application has a whole new look down here for favorites and also collections. So you can see here we have an easy way to access our work, our home, or you can add somewhere new and add that as a favorite, and you can simply just tap on it and it will take you there. So this is very similar to something like Waze. I know Maps had this in the past, but this looks a little bit better now. You do also have collections. So if you wanted to go to like a trip where there's multiple places in that city or state, you can add it there and it will take you to all of those places. Another cool change inside of the Maps application is when you search for something now, you will see that these stars, like for a fast food restaurant or a restaurant like Chick-fil-A, you can see the stars. It now actually shows 3.5, 3.0, 5.0 instead of having the actual stars right there, where sometimes it's kind of hard to discern what it is. It just makes it easier to glance at these reviews and know what they are. It does also now show you at the top how many results were found instead of just showing what's there. And you do also get the option to edit search instead of just having the search show up right there. So it looks a lot cleaner in iOS 13. And then we do also get a form of Street View in iOS 13. Now it's not straight from Google, but it's Apple's own version of Street View, and it actually looks pretty cool. And it's awesome that you can now do that on an iOS-based device instead of just on the computer. The Reminders app is now completely redesigned from the ground up. It looks nothing like it did in iOS 12, and I definitely like the way this looks. So we have today, we have scheduled, we have all, we have flagged, and this is basically just going to be a quick shortcut to get to all of your reminders that you have set up. So we have nothing today, but we do have 2 scheduled. You can see right there. I don't really use reminders a lot. I used to use things a lot, but I never used Apple's built-in reminders, but I will start using this a lot more. And I'll probably cover this a lot more in depth once I start adding actual reminders and things to do to this application. But you can see the whole UI is completely changed now. Now, if we go to our calendar and go to the plus sign to add an event, you can see that we do have a new look here for adding an event. looks a little bit more clean, a little bit more modern than it did in iOS 12. Now, if we go into our health application, you'll notice that we do have a big difference here as well. So I'm going to pull this up so you can see there's obviously a pretty massive change with iOS 13. Now, I like the fact that you kind of saw a lot of data in iOS 12 and you had the today view. Now with iOS 13, there's only 2 tabs on the bottom. So there's search and there's summary, whereas there were 4 in the past in iOS 12. So I kind of like that you can see all this in iOS 13 or in iOS 12, but iOS 13, I'm sure I'll see some of that once I start adding in some of my health data here. I just haven't used my iPhone XR as much, but you can click on show all health data. You can also show highlights there if you want. Then you have some other things that you can get started with right here. We do have cycle tracking. So for women out there, you can now track your cycle straight from within iOS inside of the health application, which is a really big deal for a lot of women out there. So you don't have to use any third-party apps anymore. Also, all of your data will be encrypted, so that is really nice to know. And if we go over to search, you can see we have all of our categories here for health. And if you go down to hearing, this is new in iOS 13. So we now have hearing health, and this is going to track all of your surroundings and the music you listen to see if it's actually safe and healthy for your body and your ears. So you can see I don't have any data available right now, but you can see I have audiogram, noise notifications, headphone audio levels, and environmental sound levels. And it's pretty cool because you have some articles right here like understanding hearing loss, why hearing health matters, and you can kind of read about these things in here as well. And you can see like levels of hearing loss. It's really informative and really great if you care about your health, which I'm hoping that you all do. But this is a great new feature. I can't wait to try this out. It does also work on the Apple Watch as well. So I will be testing that out and definitely reporting back on that once I get more data and understand how it works a little bit better. The mail application looks a little bit better now. So instead of actually showing who it's from over there, like in the blue, it actually shows it just like so here on the right-hand side. This is iOS 13. You can see the little lines are a little bit more pronounced. You can see a little bit more data inside of there. We also don't have as many options down at the bottom, so it's not as cluttered up. All of those options are now going to be, when you click on this arrow right here, you can see we have all these options right here. So I really like the look of the new mail application, especially individual emails here in iOS 13. So now when we go to open up shortcuts, we do get a new splash screen showing you what's new inside of Siri shortcuts, and shortcuts are actually built into iOS now. So you no longer have to download a separate application to get shortcuts. It's built in to your iOS device now. And you'll also notice that we have a new tab down there called automation. And if we click on that, you can see it says have your devices react to changes in conditions. So I have not messed with this yet, but I definitely will since I've covered shortcuts here on the channel. I know a lot of you guys are interested in that. So I will try creating some personal automations and also some home automations as well. So stay tuned. I will definitely cover those in the future. The gallery also looks a little bit better. It looks like we have a lot more to choose from and a lot more to discover and look at here inside of the gallery as well. If we go into the notes application, you'll see we have a slightly different UI. You can see we have those 3 dots up at the top right of iOS 13. We never had that in iOS 12. We also have this little grid view here in iOS 13 as well. We have that in the bottom left on iOS 12. And if we click on these 3 dots up here, you can see we have select and view attachments. And if we click on view attachments, this will actually show all attachments inside of your notes, which is really handy to accessing some of those attachments very quickly. And if we go into a note here, you'll also notice a little bit of a difference here. You can see the person with the plus right there is a little bit smaller in iOS 13. The plus icon in iOS 12 is also now replaced with a camera icon in iOS 13. We also have the sketch, add sketch removed here in iOS 13. It's in a different spot now on iOS 13 than it was in iOS 12. And if we actually go to start drawing on our document here, you can see the utensils down in the bottom are a lot more lifelike, a lot better looking than they were in iOS 12. Pretty big difference there. I think they look a lot better in iOS 13. We also have the color swatcher right here. Looks a lot better than it did in iOS 13. It pops up right away instead of, having to press it after already pressing it once. You have these different colors and then you have to press it again. So looks better, a lot easier to maneuver around with in iOS 13. We now have accessibility settings on the front page of the settings application. So you don't have to go digging. It's going to be on the first layer, the first page of settings now. And if you go inside of here, you'll see that we have some really cool icons beside all of these things here as well. And then also if we go into general and go to fonts, you will see that we now have fonts you install appear here. Now this does not work, I don't think, in beta 1. I will have to try to download some and see what happens here, but I don't think it's going to be like system-wide fonts. but I will follow up with that. We may not be really seeing anything in here until a later beta. We also get a new splash screen for the home application. So you can see we have some really cool graphics here showing everything new in home, improved accessory control, secure camera recording, multiple voices on HomePod, your own profiles on Apple TV, and secure Wi-Fi for your devices. So those are all brand new features here in iOS 13. We do also have a new UI for accessories like your lights, like your Philips Hue lights, any kind of smart accessories. You do have this new cool looking UI now in iOS 13. Now this is kind of a random one that I just discovered, but if you 3D touch or haptic touch on the volume indicator, the volume inside of your control center, you'll notice we have a new icon now at the top center on iOS 13. So we have an iPhone with an iPhone logo in the text versus just the volume indicator, the volume icon there on iOS 12. So pretty cool little touch. I'm assuming that is dynamic and it will change if you have an iPad as well. So inside of iTunes, we have a new look for the toggles up at the top here where it says featured in charts. You can see in iOS 13, it has more of like a flat look and it's black and gray versus the blue and white in iOS 12. So not a big difference, but that is changed here in iOS 13. And if we go to the App Store, you'll notice that we no longer have the Updates tab, and it is now replaced with Arcade, which is the new service from Apple, the Apple Arcade. So you can see right here, it says games that redefine games. So this is coming out in, I believe they said the summer, later this summer, but that's just basically placeholder for now because you can't really do anything here. I still haven't found out where the updates actually are now in iOS 13. So if you know where the updates are, let me know in the comment section below. But I'm personally not a big fan of the updates tab being removed. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is that the performance has improved in iOS 13. There are multiple reasons for this and Apple showed them on stage, but one of the big reasons is because applications, the size of the applications are actually cut in half with iOS 13. So there's a lot of enhancements that will definitely improve speed on your device all across the board, no matter what device you have. So that is a big new feature here in iOS 13, a big change that's really going to improve how your device runs on a daily basis. So anyways, guys, there you have it. Those are over 55 features and changes found in iOS 13 Beta 1. Like I said, there are many other features and changes out there. I'm definitely working hard to find those for you guys. I will also find some hidden features that nobody else talks about and that Apple definitely didn't talk about. So stay tuned for all those videos. I have a lot of work ahead of me. Hope you guys enjoy all these videos. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. I do appreciate it. These videos do take a long time, especially since I'm shooting in 4K now. So I would appreciate it if you left a thumbs up and also left a comment down below with your thoughts on any of these features, and also let me know what your favorite feature so far is, or if you found any other features that I didn't talk about in this video. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you soon.